Good evening. Welcome to the January 24th, 2018 meeting of the Moscow Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm Rob Parrish, and I'm standing in for our chair, Wendy McClure, tonight, and hopefully she'll be joining us by phone in a few minutes. So, first order of business, approval of the minutes from January 10th. Do we have any corrections or additions? Okay, I guess.
I didn't see any. I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay, Joel's made a motion to approve.
Second.
Dennis, second. Okay, so all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, minutes are approved. Mike, any correspondence?
None from staff this evening.
Great. And Joel, I guess you're on for transportation?
The Transportation Commission will be meeting tomorrow afternoon at 4 to 6 in this room. The main item of business is talking about the 3rd Street corridor. I think one of the main things will be a review of some of the comments that were received relative to that issue.
Good.
I guess I'm wondering, is there any problem with distributing the copies of those comments to this commission also? You guys didn't see them, have you?
We haven't,
not.
no.
Yeah. I think it would probably be fair game, since it's not a judicial issue, to distribute them to you guys.
I think it'd be a good idea.
I'll send them to you, and you can
Okay.
send them out on the system.
Great. I think we're going to have to get transportation to shift their meetings to Tuesdays so that
No, I have a meeting
we're always a month out. So, okay, I think that's a good idea, especially in light of the conversation that we had last meeting. So I think that'd be good to get those out. Okay, the next item is public comment period. We invite members of the public who are largely absent to address the commission, any items that are not currently on the agenda or pending before planning and zoning. So we certainly welcome anybody that's out watching tonight to come and join us. So next item, Mike, you're up. Comprehensive plan updates.
Okay. Well, this is largely what we had gone over last time. I think the commission had some just slight modifications to some of the language in certain sections, but this was what Sustainable Environment Commission's recommendations, and we had taken those and incorporated them into the typical language of the comp plan, and so that's what we had gone over last time. We can go through, and I won't go through in a whole lot of detail, but I'll just kind of highlight the things that were changed since last time. I think just something minor in this introductory paragraph. We had just GHG as the acronym for greenhouse gas emissions. So that was really, I think, the only addition. I think maybe we had another addition in the second paragraph. We had the average annual temperature going up 5 degrees to 8 degrees, and there wasn't a year cited. And so I had gone back and pulled out what the horizon year was, which was 2080. For those temperature increases, and incorporated those into that paragraph. Looking at the next section was water. I don't believe we had any recommended changes within that paragraph. Air quality. I think Joel had the comment last time about recognizing that Moscow has relatively low wildfire risk. It's not identified as one of our hazards, primarily because we're surrounded by agricultural fields that usually, are farmed and end up, are managed by agricultural uses. And so I've just added that sentence in there. Although Moscow has relatively low wildfire risk because of surrounding agricultural fields, the city will continue to experience the impacts of air quality because of regional wildfires and the lengthened fire season. So that was really the only change in air quality. Energy usage had stayed primarily the same. I think we had just a distinction between city in this. So we have current implementation action of 20% by 2020 reduction through city operations. And so added, I think that was the comment last time, that specified that we're doing that as part of our city operations. And then that's different from talking about just the city in general in the subsequent sentences.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I like that.
Transportation, that I think we stayed the same there, as well as infrastructure and environmental impacts, I believe, stayed. Climate migration, another one that we didn't have any changes, and then food security, same thing. There's no changes in that, but we could certainly, if anybody noticed anything since the last meeting, we could certainly go over them.
Excuse me. That was Wendy. She'd been trying to call in, but it didn't work. But if we want to try to call her directly, we could at least have her on the line.
Nope, here comes help.
Must be, just can't dial out.
596 1375.
Did we hang up the previous call?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, this is Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Hi,
Hi,
Wendy.
who am I? Oh, is this Rob?
Yep, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm sorry, I've been trying to get through, but it hasn't worked too well. So I'm glad we're connected.
Well,
Thank you.
welcome to the meeting. Mike was just going through the changes of the comp plan that we worked on last meeting.
Great, perfect. And so you've gone through the first couple of agenda items. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, we've
Thank
just
you.
gone through the first section on the Sustainable Environment Commission recommendations, and then the only thing that's changed is just some items that the commission had comments on last time, just some minor modifications to some of those paragraphs. So now we're on to the Tree Commission's
Commission.
recommendations.
Okay, wow, you're moving along. Okay, thank you.
So we have, in the end of this first chapter, some implementation actions regarding our urban forest. And so we had originally eliminated these. I think the Tree Commission had come back and wanted to kind of redo some of these implementation actions under number 7. And so we'd be actively promoting and protection and expansion of the city's urban forest. Previously, we had the issue with street trees being planted in new subdivisions. Since we had worked on that this last year and a half, to revise that street tree planting program. Now we can eliminate those actions and then insert new ones recommended by the Tree Commission. So we had 3 of them: increasing species diversity of right-of-way tree planting efforts through publications, educational venues, and partnerships with local tree nurseries; developing a systematic program for education, attentive monitoring, and active enforcement of existing ordinances concerning removal and replanting of right-of-way trees; and inventorying the condition and vigor of downtown business district right-of-way trees and determining a complete life cycle and replacement plan that would consider methods of improving conditions for existing trees and developing improved planting schemes. And then I think Wendy had the comment last time about adding the 4th item on there about in regards to utility lines and the pruning and the damage that's done by those. And so I had just taken a stab at adding some language on there. So what I had come up with is working with utility providers to relocate utility lines underground or to one side of the street to reduce the damage done by street trees by pruning around utility lines. So,
Editorial comment, you have another acronym, ROW. You could do the same as you did with the earlier one.
Oh, yeah.
Write out the word and then ROW in parentheses.
And I thought, Mike, this is Wendy, I thought that you captured the intent, the utility issue,
Yeah.
utility line issue very well. So
okay.
that sounded good to me.
And then we have chapter 3, we have a section that discusses street trees. And I was, that we had all these lists of various topics that the tree commission had forwarded on to us to see if there was anywhere we could incorporate those into the comp plan. And I did my best to kind of ferret out the ones that I think belong maybe in the Parks and Rec master plan and other city documents, and then the ones that we could insert in various sections of the comp plan. And so I think I had about half of those I was able to incorporate into these various sections. And so the change within this this section is towards the middle, and so we have, this is existing language that the tree commission had already recommended about aging street trees, the threat of invasive and destructive insects and disease pests, rate of tree mortality along Moscow streets is increasing. And then this is a new sentence that I added. As such, the city should continue its efforts to diversify its urban forests, since tree diversity is the best mechanism to make trees more resilient to weather extremes, disease, and insect pests. And so I think that just the tree mortality and then continuing efforts to diversify the forest, that was one of the topics the tree commission was looking at having that inserted somewhere. And so I think it goes along with kind of what we discussed within the street trees section here. And then this is existing language in that second paragraph, just revising the section to include what we had done with the street tree planting program. And so nothing's really changed there, just a sentence or two in the middle to incorporate what they were thinking in that regard. And then we get to chapter 5, and we had talked about, or the tree commission had recommended, stormwater issues, and we really weren't going to address stormwater in a whole lot of detail until we understand what that's going to, the requirements are going to be coming down from Environmental Protection Agency in phase 2. So we were keeping it, pretty general, but there are sections that discuss detention, retention, and treatment of stormwater, and I think the bioswales and construction of wetlands, we kind of introduced that section by just looking at the benefits of treating stormwater with vegetation and wetlands and bioswales, and then towards the end, constructed wetlands can also be built on the edges of a retention basin as riparian zones, and then I think that I tried to include incorporate trees within this as the effects that they have on rainfall. And so trees slow the impact of rain by capturing rainfall in their canopy, which can decrease stormwater surge. Cities should encourage the planting of large trees as part of stormwater mitigation. And so that was another one of their topics that I thought this was probably the most appropriate place in the comp plan to insert that. I believe that is it. It's pretty short.
Okay.
So on the street trees, with the street tree planting program to require street trees to be planted as part of the building permit process, street trees are now required to be planted as part of any new development. And the developer is given the option. It's not the developer anymore, correct? It is the contractor or owner.
Correct. Yeah, thank you. I'll go back and change that.
So any other comments for Mike on, Mike, any other guidance you need from us on moving
I don't think
forward?
so. I think that we're, with this, we're going to pretty much wrap up these commission recommendations. We still have some comments back from the library, and so I think they met yesterday,
Okay.
and I would anticipate that we'd get some. We, reviewed their 3 insertions last time or the time before, and just wanted more detail in some of those. So I would anticipate that we'd receive those
Okay.
pretty soon, and
Great.
probably take a look at them at the next meeting. And hopefully that'll be kind of the end of the commission recommendations, and we can kind of look at wrapping up the, all the updates and then, enter the kind of public comment
Okay.
process and do some open houses and things like that.
Super, that's great.
One question about the language. In most places, at the end of this first paragraph, you have insect pests, and most other places you make a distinction, insects and pests. Is that intentional? Where it says weather extremes, disease, and insect pests?
I don't think it's intentional. I can make it consistent. That was just the language that the tree commission, I think, had given me. But I think I kind of noticed the same thing, that it was,
Just a small thing.
yeah.
Great. With the indulgence of the commissioners, I'd like to step back to the public comment. David came in just as we were wrapping that up. Was there anything that you wanted to address to the commission?
Well, I got an email from Mike. I was wondering about the water issues, and he indicated that the Sustainable Environment Commission would be one of the groups tasked to look at that, and they haven't been officially. I was wondering if they were going to be, or how the
Yeah, I think
water might play out.
Yeah, and I think that we had already gone over some initial recommendations, but I think that we were waiting on the water department in order to give us those, and they were supposed to be working with Sustainable Environment. So that's one more thing that we'll need to address before we kind of wrap up that commission
From the
comment.
water department, all I've heard is from me saying that
Yeah,
it should be coming onto their plate, and they're wondering
yeah.
why they haven't heard.
Yeah, I need to reach out to them to make
Okay.
sure that they've got it on their radar still. I think we sent it to them in November, so they should have, should be moving forward with it, so.
Okay, and I took a look at it, some as a private citizen, but I didn't know all the numbers that the water department would have.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, I guess,
Chairman,
yes,
if I could back up, I couldn't get up to it fast enough, but I did find on the website the comments that Joel was talking about for the 3rd Street.
oh, okay,
The summary comments of all public input has been summarized and is on the website, and I emailed the link to all of you.
oh, super, great.
Okay.
Everybody kind of understood what Ann was,
yeah.
okay, that's great. So on the link, and we'll have the email to remind us to go there. Super, thanks, Ann.
Good.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Joel, that was great. Is anything else on the comprehensive plan, Mike? Is that,
I don't, that
that's
was,
it?
yeah, pretty short.
Okay. The last item is shared readings, and Wendy, I think that we had left the last meeting that we were going to continue on the one that we had started last meeting after you got back, but then Mike, there was something on.
Well, I think we talked about an upcoming article on density.
That's what it was, thank you.
But I think with the
But we'd all,
conversation
Oh.
we had, the conversation we had last time with the Transportation Commission and thinking of ways to try to collaborate between planning and zoning and transportation, I think we're going to use that meeting as maybe the second one in February to kind of brainstorm ideas. And so I think we're going to put off the density article.
Okay,
And if that-
super.
Is that what I understood correctly, Wendy?
yeah, that's correct. I think everybody was enjoying the dialogue and wanted to maybe strategize how we can better think of ideas to better, strengthen communications with transportation and public works, et cetera, between planning and zoning and those entities. And so it was really a continued discussion along those lines at the end of February, and then looking down the road at the density article, because it also interfaces to some degree with what Nils Peterson has been advocating in terms of small lot development as well. So they're all sort of, and that might be a future topic. So.
Good,
Yeah,
okay.
so I don't know, do we, we could go, if people are interested, I think, Mike and I both think the density article is well written, it's pretty easy reading, and it's informative. It's a good argument for, for reasons that we haven't thought about, density being important, and addresses some of the negative connotations in it. And So if everybody agrees, we could go ahead and have that one posted. I don't think it's up yet, is it, Mike?
It's not, no, we haven't posted it
Yeah.
yet, no.
Yeah, let's
we
do
can.
that. Yeah, let's go ahead and put it up, and then we'll get that scheduled for a subsequent meeting. I think.
Yeah, that would be a March meeting, probably around whatever other agenda items Mike will come up with, and whether there's a time slot we can fit it into. So,
Okay, great.
in one of the March meetings, so, yeah.
Oh, I do very much like the idea of talking about the relationship between the P&Z and transportation.
Yeah, I think that's worth
Yeah.
following on. So, Mike, you were gonna contact, well, I guess, we were going to try to have a joint meeting at some point in time, or?
Well, I think we were gonna first maybe, if we feel like we still need to remain internal to the commission, we could do that, or we could maybe see if Les McDonald could just come for the shared readings time allocation for that discussion to see if he has any ideas, and other members, invite members of the Transportation Commission informally and see if they have ideas. I don't know. Joel, what are your thoughts on that? Since you're one of our liaisons.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think the idea of getting all of us in a room is a good idea. Maybe, well, I guess I like the idea of inviting Les and announcing it to members of the Transportation Commission and inviting them if they wish.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start, and then maybe it will move on from there, so, okay, that's great.
So maybe what we would do then is front end it after the minutes, on the agenda instead of at the end. Front end it so those people don't have to, so they can kind of be there for it and go home and not have to stay for the whole meeting. We have other agenda items too, so I don't know. Like maybe right after correspondence, our normal, item 2 or whatever, have an item 3.
We can use it in place of Joel's
Yes.
transportation report. So,
Yeah, right, exactly. That's great. Yeah.
So, Mike, will you want to contact Les and
Sure.
see if we can? Are we thinking about this for the next meeting, or
No.
Okay.
I don't know. Are we? Well, not the next meeting. I won't be there.
Oh, you won't.
Sorry,
Okay, so let's wait.
Yeah, the last one in February.
Okay,
The second
great.
one in February.
I forget that you got one more meeting. You're gonna not be here. So
Yeah.
great, lucky
Gonna
you.
be- I mean, I can call in again. I had a little trouble tonight, but I think it.
Yeah, let's aim at the second one.
Yeah, we'll do it for when you get
Yeah.
back. That's great. Okay, super.
All right.
All right, gosh, we kind of rolled through the agenda. Before we adjourn, Mike, you had mentioned in one of the communications that there was the potential for the legislative version of one of the ordinances that we.
Yeah, we've just been really waiting on legal department to finalize the land use table ordinance, which is going to be really large. And so we were hoping they were going to get that. They pretty much have it almost complete, and we're just waiting, I thought maybe that we would get it in time, but we didn't. And so
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we'll have by next meeting.
So
And
next meeting
that'll be a really large
A
item. So
public hearing for.
it won't be a public hearing. We'll just probably take a couple meetings to review.
Okay.
Since it's been a while since they've, had it put in ordinance form, and then we'll probably look at scheduling a public hearing probably in March.
In March, okay. All right, well, gosh.
A record.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure that we've ever kind of
You
walked through.
can get in.
Wow, Rob, you're an efficient leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gave me a softball here, Wendy. Well, it was, yeah.
I'm glad I caught it before it was all over.
Yeah, if you'd called in another 10 minutes, we'd all be gone, so. Well, enjoy, we're supposed to get snow tonight, so enjoy the sunny California.
Oh, it's actually supposed to rain here tonight, and they really need it. They're back in drought mode, so.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
so. Any other items for the good of the order? So, I guess with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. So, thanks for calling in, Wendy. We'll talk to you next meeting.